Parker, CNN Stephen Collinson. Good morning to you all. Nice to see you on this Labor Day weekend. Thank you for being here.
Parker,
CNN Stephen Collinson. Good morning to you all.
He came
nice
to
see
fame
you
on
on this
Apprentice.
Labor Day
You're fired.
weekend. Thank
He
you
has
for
long
being
fired
here.
people. He did so in the first term.
Trump has
what's
long
different
fired
this
people.
time?
Of course,
the
the people that he's targeting.
Apprentice,
Here's just a
you're
list
fired.
of some of the people who have been
did
fired
so in the first
attempted
term.
to fire.
What's
Lisa
different
Cook being
this
one
time
of them, of course, the
are
Federal
the people
Reserve.
that he's targeting.
Here's just a
Sits
list
on the
of
Federal
some
Reserve
of the people
Board.
who have
She's
been
fighting
fired
that
attempted
effort
to
to fire her. But
Lisa
all
Cook
along
being
down the
one of them,
line,
of course, the Federal
CDC
Reserve,
director,
Service
sits on
Transportation
the
Board,
Federal
head of the
Reserve
Defense
Board.
Intelligence
She's
Agency,
fighting that
Bureau of
effort
Labor
to fire her. But
Statistics,
all along down the
Commissioner
line,
that puts out that
CDC
monthly jobs
director,
report that
Service
Trump didn't
Transportation
like.
Board, head of
It
the
is
Defense
an
Intelligence
effort to
Agency,
go
Bureau of Labor
to
Statistics,
target any
Commissioner
sort
that
of
puts out that
viewpoint,
monthly
any
jobs
sort of
report that
data
Trump
that
didn't like.
conflicts
It is an effort
with
with his
go
agenda, even
to
if that data
target
is
any sort
true.
of viewpoint,
That's right,
any
and,
sort
or
of
even
data
if these
that
officials are supposed to
conflicts
be
with his
independent or
agenda, even if that
nonpartisan,
data
or
is
as you
true.
say, mere
That's right, and or
referees
even if these
of
officials are
government
supposed
data,
to be
like the
independent
Bureau
or
of Labor,
even like the Federal
nonpartisan,
Reserve,
or
which is
as you
supposed to
say,
be independent,
mere referees of government data,
which of
like
course,
the Bureau of Labor,
the independence
even like
of
the
which
Federal
is so
Reserve, which is
important
supposed to be
the
independent,
economy and to the market.
So
which of course,
I think you're right.
The independence
firing
of which
people
is
has
so
always been part of
important
Trump's
to
brand.
the economy
And you remember
and to
during
the
the debate
market.
with
So
Biden, when
I
Biden
think
was
you're
still
right
in
that
the race,
firing
that
people
was a
has
big
always
part
been
of his
part of
critique.
Trump's
Was
brand.
look,
And
even when
you
people are
remember during the
incompetent,
debate
you're
with
not willing
Biden,
to get
when
rid of them.
Biden
You're
was
not
still
in the race. That was a big part of his critique. Was look, even when people are incompetent, you're not willing to get rid of them. You're not.
She just brought up the debate between Trump and Biden, and then in the next breath she says, but they're not willing to get rid of incompetent people. They're not willing to get rid of them. Biden was incompetent. Biden shouldn't have been debating Trump. Biden should have been removed from being our president toward the end. And he's doing some wacky shit, pardoning his son and shit. None of that should have happened. But the reason I had to stop her, I just can't take it, where they're just driving in how terrible Trump is so that we'll forget how terrible the Democrats are, and this will continue to oh my God, continue to vote for them. And their liberal media, which is no different than the right-wing media, they're pounding into their people their facts, their truths, their agendas. And we have to know that the time has come for us to put our truth out there, our agenda, our facts, and have them responded to. And quit voting for free. But do you hear this? I mean, these people here they get in here and they whip each other up. And one says something and the other one got to go further. And I'm sure there got to be benefits in it. If it's nothing else but keeping your job by whipping the people into a frenzy and making them believe that Donald Trump is the worst president that we've had in modern history, as far as damaging our democracy, as far as harming us, as far as the racist behavior in the United States. It's being magnified. Truth be told, we're going to have to wait and see what happens when he gets to the end of this. But in my personal opinion, I believe that there is a racial element in this country that it doesn't take very much to push it from what we consider the background to the forefront. I mean, just a little bit, and turn up the temperature a little bit, dial it up a little bit, and you start going like, whoa, there's racists all over the place. Which means that it's the level that we've accepted, the things that we consider the norm, and when they take it to that other level, and a lot of this has gone on under Trump. I've seen it under every president we've had. I don't know why people act like this just goes away and then a new president come in and how he feels about the world and his outlook on life is automatically adopted by, everyone who voted for him. That ain't how it go. And it's a brainwashing way of pounding another person into the ground so that they have no other choice. That's it. You can get them to the point of where they're nodding yes to everything you say and pumping their fists and getting excited and not realizing that they started painting at the door, and they're getting into the corner, and they're going to turn around and go, oh shit, now I got to vote for the Democrats. Because they've showed me everything bad about this guy. They've told me everything he's going to do and how democracy is being threatened. And we can't have that. And it's going to work for a significant part of the population, unfortunately. To be tricked and brainwashed and battered into this, it's unnecessary. You got to win informally. You shouldn't have to do that. But we must understand both sides are willing to deal with incompetence as long as it's their incompetence. They don't want their friends to be even called incompetent, but to the rest of the world looking in, it's like, that dude's incompetent. He shouldn't even be our president. That dude's incompetent. He shouldn't be our Secretary of State. That dude is incompetent. He shouldn't be the director or anything. You know what I'm saying? And they give their friends high positions way up there. And they're not always competent. But to the other side, they're never competent. The Republicans ain't going to sit there and compliment Joe Biden's cabinet and say that was the most competent cabinet we've ever seen. They're not going to do that. They're not even going to say they're competent. You ask them questions about members of it, they're going to say, that dummy, he don't know what he's doing. The guy's a brain dead. I mean, they're going to say shit like that. And you're going to expect that from the Democrats. That makes sense. You're not supposed to encourage, your people to go vote for them by saying good shit about him. Oh, yeah, that guy, yeah, he's pretty smart. Yeah, he's pretty smart. I don't like him, but yeah, he's honest. Yeah, he's honest. He's a straight shooter. Nobody's going to do that shit. If you start talking about the man's character and his intelligence and it's all good, but then you keep on saying, but I don't like him. I just don't like him. And then your people start looking at you and be like, well, maybe you the problem. Shit, you sound like you endorsing this guy, and you sound like you're like not endorsing your own damn self. Why don't you like him? We supposed to just follow you? You've admitted that this guy got all these good qualities and you don't. It doesn't matter. The Democrats were not going to remove Joe Biden until he finished out his term. This is American history we're talking about. The Democrats are not going to have that black eye on their party if they can keep from it. He'd have to really physically die in office or really be so far out from the swearing in that they can't hide him in a hospital. I mean, it would be something on that level. But, man, that shit wasn't going to happen. And Kamala Harris as the VP, that's within her wheelhouse of things she could do. Start that going and get him out of there. But she wasn't going to do that because that's the thing he was worried about. Are you going to turn on me? Because he was not competent. I don't think he was competent going in.
Believes that anything that conflicts with Trump's views is the deep state,
right?
And therefore needs to be eliminated. And so there's a lot of potential consequences.
I mean, and it has a chilling effect.
No, absolutely. And so you see some of that playing out, right, with the CDC ousting. You see with the Surface Transportation Board this week as well. Lisa Cook, which you mentioned also. The markets were muted. Let me note that, first of all, with the Fed, some of the moves with the Fed. He's lulled the markets in some ways into kind of a hypnosis, right, going back to Liberation Day, where you haven't seen this kind of parabolic reaction. However, that being said, I mean, the long-term consequences of, a central bank not being independent, for example, CDC, a health agency a department not being independent, for example, it does erode the trust and, I mean, the politicization of it all.
And look, and it's this blatant effort by this to use prosecutions, use investigations against his political foes. I mean, this is just just a list of just the people.
See, that's the thing, man. It's like the Democrats act like they didn't impeach the man twice. You know what I'm saying? They act like they didn't investigate him like a bunch of times. I ain't gonna sit there and tell you I know them all. They investigating the shit out the motherfucker. And then they expect him to not go after anybody. People on his side who used to be on his side who turned on him, who be hanging out with the Democrats now. He like, oh, okay, fuck it. I mean, it seems like that's not uncommon. It seems like that's how the game is played. But the worst, dirty part of the game is to be that way. I mean, people in the streets don't do that kind of shit. I mean, they got some codes that they live up to. They die for. They live up to. That they really honor. And these people here, they don't give a fuck. They just up here saying anything. That is so unfortunate.
Who have been targeted or threatened for some investigations. John Bolton, of course, his house was raided. There's Letitia James, the Senator Adam Schiff, a Democrat, Jack Smith, all people who are perceived enemies. You know,
but the way it's been going is it's been a lot of raids. Should have been a lot of raids. When a particular administration is in and you get up on that federal level, those federal raids, just think about it. When they raided Puff's house, that was in Joe Biden's administration. Joe Biden's administration went big. They did the whole big old RICO Act, helicopters, SWAT teams. Do you know how many? Do you really believe, based on what this man got convicted of, that all that was necessary? That was all he was guilty of? If we're gonna be going hard like that, just for a felony conviction of some bullshit that it can't get the motherfucker more than 5 years, I don't understand it. What do they want us to do? What are they gonna do when the Republicans are out of power and the Democrats are back in power, and then all of a sudden, it hadn't happened in the last 3.5 years, but all of a sudden, Marco Rubio indicted. You'd be like, oh no, what? What happened? Oh, we changed parties. It's that kind of shit. And I really believe that it's a brainwashing when you actually have a panel and not any of you can say, whoa, now. That happens both ways, or, that's not fair of us. We believe they are more extreme with it, but we do it too. Like gerrymandering. Everything that I feel they push hard, press us with, they do the shit. Then you start feeling kind of pissed off, like, man, don't be talking about it so bad, because you talk about this shit so bad. I feel like gerrymandering is a badass word, but only when you do it when it's supposed to be done and all that shit. Just leave a bad feeling about it to me.
but there's no real signs that he's going after any Republicans who may be in line with him, who could be doing the same thing. I mean, the effort to target Lisa Cook, Adam Schiff, Letitia James are about allegedly listing multiple homes on their documents for mortgages and bank documents and the like. But there are reports of other people who are doing the same thing, like a Republican, like Ken Paxton.
Then go after him. I mean, what is he saying? That's what I'm saying. If somebody break the goddamn law, they broke the goddamn law. And if a president decides to go after him and they get him, you can say you're weaponizing the DOJ, or you can say you're enforcing the laws. We, as black people, have been screaming that you guys are going after us in every legal way. The courts, the jails, the police, lawyers, and the whole fucking goddamn legal system. Everything. It built a whole system just to go after black people. That's what black people feel. But you know what people say? Oh, no. It's a lot of people you can sit down and have dinner with, and they'll tell you why it's so fair out there and how the black people just break more laws than white people, and just the way it is. So we know what it's like to have a DOJ weaponized against you. The only problem is, and I guess it's a major difference is, we don't get that 4-year break. If another party takes over, and at least your team's winning for a moment, you can kind of go, woo, they made us feel this time that we were going to be missed in this skirmish. But we're not. They led with a jab, illegal immigrant. Illegal immigrant, illegal immigrant. Now they about to start throwing the heavy punch, that backhand, that right hand. Black. When that crime word started, first they was trying to put the crime word on the illegal immigrants, and those Democrats fought that shit off. They was like, nope, they're nonviolent, they're good neighbors, they're our co-workers, they're our family, they're our friends. They did a excellent job. And I guess Trump's, seeing that they throwing back punches, decided to, go to the, what do you call it? The ace in the hole. The guaranteed ain't nobody gonna protect person. That be us.
Attorney General of Texas who's running for Senate. No investigation there that we know of.
Right. The president said something very interesting in the cabinet meeting this week that went for 3 hours. In all that verbiage, he said, I'm the president of the United States and I can do exactly what I want. Now, that's true in the direct sense in which he's now weaponized the Justice Department to go after people who are perceived as his enemies. But in a constitutional sense, it's not true. The president can't do what he wants in a republic. And this is where we're going to get into a difficult situation. You had a CIA officer that was fired for briefing Trump, presumably something he didn't want to hear before he met Vladimir Putin, the Russian president. You had this situation at the CDC when the director didn't want to trash generations of science just because.
I wish I knew what it was that the guy briefed Trump on to get his stuff fired. Because I'm not going to just sit here and believe no bullshit like that. Unless I know what he briefed him on, and then I could be like, oh, yeah. I mean, the motherfucker might have came up and been like, hey, he about to go meet Vladimir Putin, and he might have asked him some bullshit, that could have waited or not even come up until they get back home or some shit. Might be some straight bullshit. And he probably was like, man, who's this fucking, you're fired, I don't know. I really believe that when presidents, supervisors, bosses, people in control, public and private, have the legal right to fire people, as unfortunate as it is, and they don't abuse that right, which is what they're accusing Trump of. If Trump don't want somebody in his orbit and he has the jurisdiction over their ass and can fire him, he's going to be like, you're an asshole. Don't fire nobody. That's just how life is. There's a lot of people get fired who don't want to get fired their damn self, but it's the way it go. And if this man is acting, the only thing I think is more attractive about Donald Trump's administration as opposed to some of the others is that I feel a sense of urgency. I feel them kind of, like time is of essence. We gotta, like it. I feel that. And whether I agree with what they're pushing and rushing, I like that energy. I like that they are like letting everybody know. We know we only got what is it, 3 years and 3 months left or some shit like that. They know. And it's very important that he's pressing the way he is, and that he's not letting anybody who he's working for, whoever that person, that group, or those people may be, they get the impression that even if things ain't moving as fast as they'd like them to be moving in certain areas, they can see this dude pressing. And you can see it wearing him down. He's doing a lot of shit. A lot. But it does make somebody on the outside looking in be like, damn, man, that's what we want. Somebody who get in there and do some shit. You moving that fast, shit. You, as a Democrat, you'll run out of shit to do. You'll have to include us. There'd be nothing else left to do. You'll be like, damn, shit. If the Democrats went in there when they have their majorities and really pressed for things and pushed things and signed these executive orders, you know what? If somebody want to spend 3 weeks undoing a bunch of executive orders, so be it. But them executive orders don't all get reversed. A lot of them, they don't reverse. They reverse the high-profile ones, the ones the news pushed out there and screamed about, but they don't reverse them all. And I have a problem with that. Don't be putting that shit in the news and talking bad about it. And then when you get the opportunity, you don't do nothing about it.
It suited the president's agenda. And the White House came out and said, well, if you don't share the president's agenda on health, we'll show you the door. That gets you into a difficult and potentially dangerous position when one person is deciding what reality is and everybody else has to shape their analysis to that reality. Sooner or later, whether it's in foreign affairs, health, vaccinations, for example, that's going to exact a price.
And the question is going to be, can he get reined in any such way? Can courts rein him in as well? There are some indications that some of the efforts that he has moved ahead with are going to at least get pulled back for now. One of which, of course, is that big ruling that happened on Friday, the appeals court striking down many of Trump's tariffs, saying he overstepped his authority. There's several other things. Immigration.
I just totally disagree with any president having to deal with lower goddamn court. Fuck that shit. If they're not a part of the checks and balance that he's a part of, that's what he need to be. They checking and balancing a fucking president. Not if I was a president. I'd have a problem with that. I think, and people say, oh, he ain't a king, and that's why we have checks and balances. And he has a Supreme Court and he has a Congress. And if anybody have an issue with something that he does, it should be only challenged on his level. I thought they had said that shit a few months ago, and then they still doing shit. He's the fucking president. I don't even like a lot of shit that some of our presidents have done that are Democratic presidents, and it's like they presidents. I mean, you get to some degree, you got to kind of give them that wide berth. And the Democrats have voted and have had to vote on a lot of major issues because it's hard to get them all together. They fight over all kind of shit. That's why when they in power, they don't get a motherfucking thing done. Fighting each other now that you're in the majority, so nothing get done. And look at the Republicans with a goddamn sliver of a gap there. Just a small majority. And you getting everything through that your president has requested. You're getting it done. You're making it happen. I mean, you guys got to admit, that's some impressive shit. And I can't understand why the Democrats can't get that. Because they get so hyped up. But I've come to the realization that the reason the Democrats can't operate like that is because all the Republicans are more lined up on a lot more issues, race included. The Democrats having that black caucus, you know what I mean, black senator they got to deal with over there, it makes them a little more in conflict because some black people in the party and some of the white people in the party would like to see black people get reparations or something along those lines. And then there's other part of that same party that's like, oh, hell no, please. Are you kidding me? We didn't own slaves, so when you're a part of a party like that, ain't ever gonna get shit done. And it's foolish to continue to participate in that chaos and not just remove yourself from it and your people. And put your arms around as many black people as you can, pull them back, talk to them, buy them a drink, and have a good conversation. And don't be arguing over those goddamn Democrats. Everybody mad about the Democrats to the point of where they're getting a little heated. They need to calm down and get some facts, and it'll relieve the tension and the pain with words as opposed to whatever, arguing over something that the Democrats have made you feel or made you believe, and not just listening to their words and then following them to a fact. Or did they come from something factual? Did they just make this shit up? Like, they just can't take at the top of this broadcast where that lady basically said it must just really bother her to know that the Republicans have such incompetence on the Republican side and they're not willing to call it out. Wow.
Related that he's been held back on. Of course, that tariff policy can still stay until the Supreme Court ultimately decides what to do here. But that is so significant, that ruling on tariffs, because there's all this money going to the Treasury right now.
Well,
$107 billion or so. Like, what happens if the Supreme Court says that Trump has been acting unlawfully on
It don't matter. Let's not what if that shit. Let's just take it to the Supreme Court, and whatever they come out, whether it's this or that or that or this, it is what it is. These lower courts need to back the fuck up. And if something needs to be dealt with that a president, if I was a president, I would be pissed about that. The more I think about it, the more I have to agree with whoever the sitting president is. It's Trump right now. You don't agree with his shit. But if you don't agree with what President Trump is doing, and you're willing, like our Democrats seem to be acting, like they're willing to do anything to stop him. We just have to do it. Because we got to stop him. That sounds like the people they're talking about. Sounds like that's what Trump is. I gotta do it, we'll do it, no matter what, at all costs, whether it's good, legal, bad, or moral, he don't give a fuck. That's what the Democrats are starting to sound like, but they're trying to be a little smoother with it. But it's the exact same thing. In order to push their agenda, in order to achieve their goals, they're willing to do whatever. Stomp on whoever the fuck they have to. They don't give a fuck. That's what they're basically saying. Because it's okay when we do it, because we're just doing it for the good of the country. But when he does it, he's doing it for himself. The good of the country is the companies, the corporations, the businesses, the business owners, the rich. That's the good of the country. And both sides are working for the good of the country.
tariffs, which is a signature policy.
Exactly. And this is the second trade court that has found that most of these tariffs, not all of them, some of them are under a national security authority, but a lot of these sweeping tariffs do fall under the authority that now two courts have said. And this ball is now in the Supreme Court's court, so to speak. And I think that is, to Stephen's point, that's where this is all headed, is a test of the checks and balances in the Constitution.
But if it's a test of the checks and balances, why ain't the Supreme Court and Congress involved? That's who should be opposing this, not lower courts. Not no appeals court to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court say that shit, that's it. There's no other court that can come in and overrule shit. All these lower courts are lower courts. That's why they call them lower courts. Hence the word lower.
Is when a president is this aggressive about testing the norms, rules, and laws that are intended to rein in the executive, are the other branches capable of exercising their authority to rein him in? We have seen that this is a Congress that is very, 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 very reluctant to push back against the Trump administration.
They are of the same party. The Democrats think it's natural to fight and fuss and not get shit done. Come on now. You can't knock a party that's holding together and getting their shit done. Everybody ain't gonna like everything. When is the Democratic Party gonna get that? Because we got some Democrats who are way farther apart than that Republican Party is, obviously. And that's scary. Because that's the party we supposed to be a part of. Which end of this shit are we on? But either way, we got nothing that's ever gonna happen good, because we have 2 or 3 parties, maybe 4, all within one. And that's why we can't never get nothing done, because we're always fighting, we're always arguing. We got a ultra rich part of the Democratic Party. We have a really, really, really poor part. We got a black part. We got a Hispanic part. Then we got a part that's white liberals, who would be pissed if they were in the position that black people are in this country, just because they were liberals, if not for no other reason. They were made to live in ghettos. Their schools was fucked up. Their kids basically, was left out there for their own devices as far as anything good. Police driving up and down their streets all the time, just because they was liberal. No other reason. They'd be like, oh, hell nah. I'm going to go be a Republican. They'd be out of here. But it's unfortunate that it can go on in this country like this. and the Republicans have shown the way. They have shown what needs to be done when you buckle down and get serious about something. We can forget about these news cycles as they go by, but very significant things are happening. When they cemented that tax break for those billionaires, that was significant. And they made it permanent, so it ain't nothing that you can just undo with an executive order or just in one session. It has to. You have to first off establish a supermajority. Then you have to get a supermajority that has the stomach to do it on the Democratic. It's not gonna ever be reversed unless the Republicans do it, because the Democrats will not. The things that they talk about so badly and they use as talking points and to get more support and more votes is the shit they won't turn around when they get in. They won't reverse it though. I'm suspicious about that kind of stuff.
It could assert its authority on tariffs, and they've decided not to. Congress
Rand
has.
Paul actually put it on the floor, tried to get them to do it,
Yeah.
and there were only 3 Republicans went along with him on something that has been a tenet of the sort of backbone of conservative thinking for generations. So, has enough happened that the Congress is now starting to get cold feet and be willing to push back? We shall see when they come back. And then there's the courts. We've seen this conservative court also be quite reluctant to push back on an aggressive executive, and in fact has expanded the executive's powers in all kinds of ways in their recent rulings on Trump initiative.
Now, are they reluctant to push back, Congress or the courts, or do they agree with them? I mean, can we give people credit if for who they are and what they think and for their own feelings, and at least be that respect? That's disrespectful to tell somebody, you just voting with him because you scared of him. That's fucked up. Nobody want to hear that shit. And you know what? To do that doesn't build a bridge. It doesn't make people warm towards you. It doesn't make these people start looking at Democrat, Republican less and looking at the country more like they should be. You can have a different perspective. You can have different ideas and standards for certain shit, but to fight each other so hard that you don't get nothing done for the people who put you there is starting to not make no goddamn sense. I don't know why we so patient and why we keep it. But I know we like a lot of bullshit and fights and reality TV in this country, but we're going to have to put this shit aside because it's slowing down the progress and the quality of life for all of us, for everybody, because our politicians are at each other's throat. And these news pundits get on TV and truly manipulate people by telling them that party is so much worse than the party that we're asking you to come vote for. You just watch. Get us in office and we'll change this.
So where does that go when you have either something like the Fed firing, which I think is also headed for the Supreme Court, which previously sort of carved out the Fed from its ruling that Trump could dismiss heads, members of independent agencies, and then on this tariff ruling, where does the court go? So these are both very, very significant.
Yeah, what happens if they lose on tariffs in the Supreme Court?
Well, one of the people we talked to said that trading partners have to be dazed and confused right now, right? And note that Scott Bassett filed comments on Friday as well, saying that this potentially undermines the U.S. on the global stage as well, right? So in these negotiations,
it really doesn't. If you run a democracy like we do over here, every 4 years, it's subject to change. It's subject to going another direction. No one should be bound by the president who came before them, even if he's of the same party. You have 4 years. You have to make your own mark. You have to do what you feel is in your best interest for the country and the country's best interest. You have to. You can't be worried about, oh man, I'm really getting disappointed in this government and the way people feel that it should run. You're supposed to just hand the baton off, this friendly transfer of power, and then all of a sudden you can't, darn, I can't touch that because Biden, he left it that way, and That's the way he would have wanted it. Well, if he'd have wanted it that goddamn bad, he'd have ran again and won. That's how you get it again. That's how you get what you want. Other than that, you don't. What is going on with us as a country to where we are okay with giving people provisions to screw over us?
Relations with China that are ongoing, Japan, some of these other countries also. What are they thinking when they're at the negotiating table with Scott Bessent, Jamison Greer, and Howard Lutnick when they're looking at the courts? And it's one of the things that Bessent said was that it could be embarrassing as well.
Yeah, and Steve, I want to get you to weigh in on this meeting that's happening today in China. There's Xi Jinping, the Chinese leader, Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister, Russia President Vladimir Putin. There's also other world leaders who are not so friendly with the United States, all coming at a time when, say, India is battling with the United States over tariffs and the like. What do you make of this effort for the Chinese, a show of strength of sorts that they're trying to make on the world stage here?
Well, I think it shows us that this is a world of strongmen now. There is no liberal power, superpower. The United States, nominally an old-fashioned liberal country, but Donald Trump is trying to rule as a superpower. He's turning against American allies. So that's the big picture. The interesting one, as you mentioned, is India, Narendra Modi. 20 years of US policy on nuclear issues and everything else has been designed to make sure that India and China stay antagonistic, that India moves into the US orbit rather than the Chinese orbit. This tariff situation, some of the president's interventions on Kashmir in the recent clashes with Pakistan, that's antagonized Modi, with whom he had a very good relationship. He had 2 massive stadium rallies with him in his first term, and that is a significant geopolitical.
All they understand in the world is power. If you ain't got none, you ain't got no good relationship with them. The more power you have, the better your relationship with their ass is. Any of them. And Trump is understanding that shit, got a feel for what he need to do, and he is letting these countries know he's using his tariffs in this particular instance as like sanctions. Oh, you want to continue to buy oil from Russia? Okay, I'm going to do it. Okay. Whether you agree with it or not, we get it. But if he can impose tariffs in any area, then he can impose tariffs in all areas. Why would a president only be limited to a particular area? That doesn't sound very democratic. What is the limit, and why are these limits that these courts, these lower fucking courts, are tripping on? The Supreme Court need to get involved. If this shit is wrong, then they need to say it. Otherwise, we need to get this moving. We only got 4 years. We need to let Donald Trump be the president for 4 years, and we need to win in the political arena. We need to win elections. We have a midterm coming up. If the gerrymandering is going to be the weapon of the day, let's start gerrymandering. But let's get it cracking, and let's win on the political field, and let's stop all this point blank lying. And it's like you're talking everything that they do bad, and then when it's your turn to talk about your part, you better let me turn it over to Hal, and then the next person starts talking because you don't want to go further than that. It's what's up. It is what it is. We all got a little bit of dirt on this. It ain't the most beautiful thing to admit or to reflect on, but once you do, you feel a whole lot better, and you can move forward. And the Democrats and the Republicans are gonna have to change they're gonna get like they used to be back in the 60s, and they was the senators would get together and have orgies and shit and wow women over and drinking, and they were doing that kind of stuff, and they got along better when it came down to the business of the country too. It's kind of hard to hook a guy up with some hookers and then not get along with them too good after that. You kind of call them, hey, man, what you doing this weekend? Oh, man, I was going to call them girls again. All right. I mean, yeah, but you're a Republican, he's a Democrat. But, God, fucking guy, he just parties his ass off. So you like him. So, I mean, come on, man, let's be realistic here. shit. I'm just getting to the point of where we might have to revert back to that. Our Democratic senators might have to just break the ice and, go buy the drugs or whatever they do in these modern times. But they used to party hard. Joe Biden, no, he was a part of that shit. But unfortunately, they got to the point where some of these guys were shrewd. Some of these guys wouldn't sell their people out just because you got them fucked up and introduced them to some wild women. Some of these guys would, end out of this friendship, come out with the upper end, which is politicking at its finest. You can't be mad, but you can't be mad if we have been, in a shorter amount of time, being out politicked. And that's what it is. And I don't like the loser tone. And I don't want to be a part of it.
Development.
Yeah, no question about it. And India and China, the fact that they're meeting is so significant. We'll see where it ultimately leads to.
Yeah, as soon as the Democrats start being more honest and speaking the truth, just because your opponent is a liar, don't mean you have to be like, if you're a boxer and somebody keep hitting you low, most people say, hit him back low. Well, if the referee is doing his job, he won't benefit from those low blows. He'll be disqualified if he's hitting you low enough to where it's affecting your ability to fight. In this area, everybody has a job to do. When everybody ain't doing their job, things don't work so well. But there has to be contingency plans. There absolutely has to be. We have to have our own contingency plan. It can't be interwoven in anything else, because if that fails, we fail. And we should only fail on our own and of our own reasons, and lack of effort or lack of trust or lack of trying or lack of some shit. But we have got to get our eggs out of those other baskets, especially with these prices. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next Black Popcorn.